Hello, and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. With a query, Jay Clayton, the former head of the SEC, has vanished. I need to know where he's hiding. What was the lone ape doing? For what reason have we not heard from him as of late? Of course, it's natural to focus on Kim Jong-un's bluster and attacks. But, hey, don't forget, look, it's simple to think, and rightly so. However, it is important to recall that Jay Clayton was the one who initially sparked these events. On his last full day in office, December 22, 2020, he was one of 5 votes, so he launched the lawsuit against Ripple with the assistance of the majority favorable commissioner. I had a meeting with Gary Gensler the day before, and I can't help but wonder if things would have turned out better for the SEC if things had gone differently. Don't you think that Jay Clayton, instead of hiding underground, would be promoting the great victory that began with him on national television right now? Who's the victor? That's strange, right? Here at Cornell, I'll clarify what he means, and I also have some fresh comments from a Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and the perspective of attorney Deaton. I should probably clarify that I have zero experience in the financial sector before continuing. I'm not giving out money management tips. Also, you know that you shouldn't act on any of my recommendations to buy or sell. I'm just a fan who occasionally posts silly videos to YouTube regarding crypto-related things. Or, check out what Brad Garlinghouse has to say on the matter of safeguarding retail, as expressed in a recent tweet. The SEC made matters worse by acting as though it had jurisdiction in the cryptocurrency space when it did not. What have we gained from that? While the SEC attends news conferences, consumers are left carrying the bag in bankruptcy court. So I'll pause to mention that even if the SEC had been on the right side of the law, which we now know with confidence it was not, the court has declared that it was not. Technically, the decision was split, thus they are not okay. Alright. However, XRP is not a security with regard to the important details. The answer is no, they were acting illegally. But even if they were above board, I have to ask you something. How would that safeguard capitalists, exactly? You need just consult again with the roughly 76,000 XRP holders that attorney John Deaton is advocating for to see this again. Case of the SEC versus Ripple. They keep saying no, because it's bad for us. 76,000 XRP holders, where are they now? The SEC is on the right track, no doubt about it. Ignore them, they don't even exist. I mean, even if it had been the proper action to take? Who exactly is it shielding? The SEC's mandate includes safeguarding the average investor. Once again, they found themselves on the losing side of history. However, that does give a rough idea of the situation. In that case, what the hell were they doing? This is an appalling exercise in judicial overreach. And then, Brad Garlinghouse argues it's ridiculous to criticize a judge for doing his or her job. Legislation, not merely additional regulation, is what is needed at this time. My apologies. To put it simply, we're in need. Maybe he just needs to be set straight. In fact, he did. I misunderstood it. Clear regulations and retail protection can only be achieved through legislation, not increased regulation through enforcement. It's encouraging to see more members of Congress, like Representatives Ritchie and McHenry, take up this cause. Yeah. Then, Ritchie. He was the one who penned that letter to Gary Gensler, in which he made no specific requests. You've seriously messed up, was the gist of it. That letter is fantastic. That's how I portrayed it in a video, too. What a terrific experience. Henry's conversion is especially noteworthy because he is one of the legislators who has been working to implement new crypto regulation. Simply put, Congress is taking the lead once again. He is, therefore, actively working toward that end. And now that such a crushing setback has occurred, perhaps there is a greater chance that something like this would get through, but I am not the most hopeful person at this time. And this is Ripple's chief legal officer, Stewart retweeted from Garlinghouse, I'm sorry, But the SEC only has jurisdiction over securities. If there's no security, they have no business being involved. It's a political power move to claim jurisdiction when none exists. In fact, it's bad for everyone and does no good. In all honesty, the most you could say to that is, well, I mean, it would help those little assets at the SEC had they gotten their way, but that's about it, which is still pretty close to the mark. Investors or anyone else will benefit from it less than that much is certain. I get what you mean, and you make a good point. That post from the Garlinghouse was retweeted by an attorney who claimed the tweet was politically motivated. The SEC has been successful in crypto instances where the law has been applied. However, when faced with a setback that limits its overreach, the agency's response has been to double down, condemn the ruling, and continue to sue no matter the expense or the consequences. It doesn't surprise me that there are further cases either. Defendants are using the ripple effect as an argument in these cases. The SEC, as the plaintiff, is responding by stating things like, yeah, but that decision was wrong, and so on. That's why they're ramping up their efforts by 2 and 3 times. It stinks, and they know it, and they are incorrect. What I mean to say is that they are not behaving honestly in this situation, but that I am not surprised that they are. Legal representative Deaton retweeted Garlinghouse and praised Judge Torres for doing her job in applying a 1946 test to blockchain technology. The outcome has been deemed perverse and backwards by those who disagree with it. Maybe that's what happens when you use a test from 1942 on today's technology. This is what the SEC is doing now, AIO. To that end, I'll just say that even if there were, and I'm not seeing this argument, even if there were, a leg to stand on by all of the critics here, a bigger point to make is what Attorney Deaton said here. You see where he's going with this, right? Instead of trying to force modern technology into legislation that were written decades ago, maybe Congress should take into account the fact that the two don't necessarily mesh. It was ultimately Congress that needed to act, but only after things began to unravel did they pay attention. In addition, former CoinRound CEO Dave Weisberger wrote to Garlinghouse, noting, the irony is, if the SEC under Clayton had embraced Hester versus Safe Harbor proposal to let crypto exchanges actually come in and register with new rule proposals that work with the crypto ecosystem, in all likelihood, they would have gained jurisdiction without argument. This may or may not be true, but it's something I've been considering. And, yeah, if there was a way forward, you wouldn't have people in the crypto world squawk and a whole lot, even if it didn't make sense for the SEC to be, it'd be having jurisdiction over this because, again, if the assets themselves cryptocurrencies are themselves not securities, what the hell business does the SEC have overruling it anyway? To be clear, there are still none. But if they hadn't been so destructively burdensome, they might have gotten somewhere, and it wouldn't have been lawfully stolen anyhow. But they could have, and I doubt you would have gotten any criticism from the crypto community if it was clear that the assistance was offered in good faith. The only way that could have worked legally is if Congress had intervened and given him the go-ahead by establishing which government agency or agencies would have jurisdiction over cryptocurrency exchanges. But since the assets themselves are not securities, I still don't think that would have been the right spot. But I get what Dave is getting at, and yes, that is a distinct possibility. So they made things harder on themselves than they had to be because, as I've said before and will say again, they have no business being in charge. I'm just pointing out that they might have gotten away with it if they had been a little friendlier and less suspicious. This is the largest iron need in crypto right here, tweeted lawyer John Deaton. Keep in mind that Alad Roisman, a Hester character, was one of Clayton's fellow commissioners. He was approved by a 3-0 margin. Hester and 2 lead the charge for a safe haven for crypto innovators. Opaque was a priority for Clayton and Hinman. They were able to profit from it thanks to it. And that's something that's been given to my wheels from the beginning. The deciding vote was cast by Jay Clayton. The 2 Republicans may have been mistaken for 2 Democrats. According to Fox Business, while both Democrats voted in support of filing suit against Ripple, one Republican voted against doing so. And I know it shouldn't be political, but Republican Jay Clayton cast the deciding vote in favor of the Democrats. I'm telling you straight up that you can't have, say, 4 out of 5 votes cast by Democrats or Republicans, because that doesn't meet their requirements. That's the law, by the way. That is something you simply cannot have. However, that is life. This is how things are. Okay, I understand it, I'm an adult. But what Jay Clayton meant by that is why everyone is staring at him in disbelief. Then, unexpectedly, Clinton and Hindman reaped these benefits. It so happened that this was the situation. I don't want to get off topic, but it will hurt him hard, especially considering the millions of cash he gave to Simpson Thacher and company. So it was Clayton who gave the go light for this to happen. It's because of him that I think XRP didn't reach a new all-time high in 2021. Because of him, I missed out on a chance to acquire potentially transformative fortune in the year 2021. In my opinion, he is to blame. I imagine that many of you in the audience can relate. Exactly where is that petty jerk at this point? Where is the mischievous little one? When did you last see him? I have no idea. Eating Hot Pockets in mom's basement. Whatever the case may be, they're going to check out the Southern Coin Encyclopedia. In search of Jay Clayton. The XSEC chairman's radio quiet in the wake of the Ripper verdict is cause for concern. It does, indeed. Because, once more, had the SEC won big on the issue of whether or not XRP is a security, the judge's embodiment theory would have been a major factor in his decision. Do you not believe that Jay Clayton would have been featured extensively on national television, especially on CNBC, or yes, without a doubt? But he's not there, he's simply missing. He's not far off, though. Whoever placed that on a milk carton deserves a medal. Sorry, man, I just don't know, we need to investigate further. One prominent player who has been scrutinized in the wake of this verdict is former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton, who had a key role in starting the action against Ripple before leaving down from his job. It's interesting to note that Clayton has faded from public view ever since the ruling that XRP is not a security. This has sparked conjecture regarding his true intentions and behavior throughout the litigation. Tony Edward, creator and host of the Thinking Crypto podcast, called attention to Jay's absence. In light of Ebert's tweet, attorney John Deaton explained why neither Clayton nor William Hindman have commented on the new Ripple judgment. Tony Edwards' tweet is reproduced in full below. You've heard of scumbag regulator Gary Gensler, he wrote with a photo of little Jay Clayton. Howard J. Coward Clayton launched a lawsuit against Ripple in early 2020, causing financial harm to XRP holders, and then promptly fled the SEC. Since XRP was ruled not a security, he has vanished. He is a regular guest on CNBC, where he discusses cryptocurrency. He hasn't appeared on TV with Melissa Lee, Joe Kernan, Becky Quick, or Andrew Ross Sorkin, Nick, which is strange, because you'd think he'd be a household name by now. What makes you think this one isn't? Yes, definitely is what I'm going to ask her to guess. Deaton, an attorney, retweeted this and asked if Hindman or Clayton had anything to say about the Ripple effect. Keep in mind that only Clayton of the commissioners read the headman's remarks. The day before filing the ridiculously wide complaint that claimed software code was a security, Clayton met with Gary Gensler. True, Jay Clayton initiated this, and it did not go well, but the focus has been on Gary Gensler, and people seem to have forgotten about Clayton now that he is no longer SEC head. But the point is that this jerk got going. This clown on the screen is responsible for the distress felt by tens of thousands of XRP holders, some of whom have spoken out publicly and others of whom have remained silent. This really makes me feel so sick to my stomach. The silence can't last forever, and neither can he. He'll have to talk about it eventually. I don't know what he's going to say. Is Judge Tory incorrect about this? Or, I just don't feel like saying anything about this. since he constantly stated such nonsense, it's possible that it could be persuasive. He might have meant any number of things. Well, I don't want to come in on a continuous basis, he'd answer each time I asked him to come in. That's just not true. There is no reason why you can't do that. Since there will be a trial for at least part of this case, it will likely say the same old nonsense from before Judge Torres ever made a decision. But my God, I don't know how anyone could possibly take this human being seriously. However, it gives me great pleasure to know that he was incorrect and that he lost. From the start, we had him pegged as the underdog. And with that, I think we're done. I'm telling you now that the outcome of any appeal would be disastrous for the SEC, so you can take your ball and go home for a while. As a matter of fact, attorney Jeremy Hogan recently stated legal perspective as to why on the point that matters, XRP being a security, he does not think that it is conceivable for the SEC to file an appeal, because it is dicta. The judge wasn't genuinely destroyed by this. It wasn't something she was asked to rule on, but whatever she wrote, there is now the law of the land. She was under no obligation to make the comments she did, so your objections will be dismissed. That's why. That, at least, is how lawyer Jeremy Hogan sees it. That leaves you with no recourse. If that's the case, and assuming I'm Tony Horton, the astute one will simply remove them from the local labor force. And even if they did issue a call to action, to what would they be appealing? These are just some of my ideas. I'd love to hear from you. And, frankly, it feels good to let some of my frustrations out about this. We've been dealing with this insanity for over 2 years, and for once, things are going our way. Holy crap, that was a load off my shoulders. You shouldn't use my advice to buy or sell anything because I'm not a financial expert. Please like and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.